welcome. This is Carol Moulton once again coming to you with Tea Time with Carol. Uh, I'm not going to pretend that these last few days and weeks and months have been easy for any of us because they have not. From a pandemic, which was ravaging homes and our loved ones throughout this country and throughout the world, to the killing of George Floyd, to the encounter in Central Park. It feels like we have just been battered and bruised, but we're not broken. So come on in. I'm pouring the tea. We're gonna sit and have a little fireside chat on this fine Saturday. We're gonna sit for a while and reflect and come up with some ways that I think we can forge a path forward. What are we pouring today? What would you like? I think we need something calming. So little primrose, I think would be good for us. I'm having coffee. I'm not gonna lie to you. I need something a little stronger. So, um, but I hope all is well. I hope that you're doing well. Things are beginning to open up again, and I'm actually quite gratified by some of the things that I've been seeing recently. So I think there is an opportunity for us to be hopeful and for us to see a path forward. So come on in, pillows are fluffed, tea is poured. We're going to talk. All right, so I'm going to start with the words of the Declaration of Independence, which were penned by Thomas Jefferson, even though he was a slaveholder, even though he had a bunch of children by Sally Hemings, which, white folks are having a really hard time accepting. But I mean, it's clear they've cleared it with DNA, But here are the words. I don't want to get off on the thing about Thomas Jefferson because it is what it is. But he wrote this at the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, in spite of the history of Black folks in this country, I don't think we ever doubted those words and that we believed that those words applied to us as well as anybody else. And I think that has caused the tension that we're currently seeing being played out because there's some folks that don't ascribe to that they believe that some folks are more equal than others. But if you look at the history of this country, you understand it was built on oppression, it was built on theft, it was built on the belief that in order for some to flourish, there has to be somebody on the bottom. And for far too many years, that's been Black folks and people of color. I mean, I won't even get into Native Americans and how they have been treated and marginalized and, robbed. You put them on reservations and then, oh, well, we need to take that because there's oil in them Burr Hills, So, but, be that as it may, I think this is an opportunity for us to work together because I don't think everyone ascribes to the negativity that we've been seeing so recently. I think that there are some folks who really take those words at face value and believe that all men means all men, that equal means equal. So, a number of white folks have come to me and, in all honesty, have said, things along the lines of what can I do? I want to make a change. I want to be involved. What can I do? And far be it for me as the victim to prescribe the way for them, the path out for them. But I think there needs to be a willingness to at least engage in conversations. I think part of it is them defining and them figuring out for themselves the ways that they may have contributed to institutional racism and systemic racism, and you know just getting clear on how racism plays out in this country. The fact that they're like completely ignorant to it speaks kind of volumes as well, that they really did not understand and appreciate the struggles, the daily struggles that Black folks go through. The microaggressions, if you're Black, you know what I'm talking about. The ways in which no matter, how well you show up, there's a glance or an eye roll or a comment that just is wounding all over again, and I think those wounds are in our DNA, and I think that for Black folks, we're going to have to spend some time either in counseling or coaching, looking to remove those vestiges of slavery that we're still walking around. I mean, we are the walking wounded. There's no question about that. There's just so much. There's so many ways in which this shows up, but we're going to keep this on the positive side because it's clear that there are problems. So what do we do? What do we do? Well, I think that there's a path forward for white folks, and I'll be engaging in conversations with them, not to define and not to recommend, but to create a path forward for understanding. Because I think from understanding, and when we understand each other, when they become cognizant of what the problems are, then they can do something about it. Because that's not my job. I see my job as being to forge a path forward for Black folks, and to see, because I think that there's work to do on our side as well. It's real easy to point the finger and say, you all don't understand, you've done this, you've done that. But I think that there's also some work that we need to do as well. So I'm going to tell you what I think our work is. I'm going to tell you. You didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I think our number one thing forward is to vote. A lot of us take it less seriously than we should. But I'm old enough to remember how folks suffered and died for that right. And so I do not, when my grandchildren as they are becoming of age, I'm telling, look, you got to register, you got to vote. I don't care who you vote for. Well, I do care actually, but it's important that you take advantage of that right that people suffered and literally died to give you. Further, I think that we really need to spend some time building trust within our own community. For years and years during slavery, trust was bled out of us by, separating families, separating mothers from their children, separating husbands and wives, using, people as chattel, just property. And so there are certain things that I think we have been robbed of, and trust for each other is one of them. So it may take some time, but I think it's really necessary that we begin to trust and support each other. Well, how do we do that? Well, one of the ways we can do it is stop gossiping about each other. Stop taking, stop um, looking for the negative in each other, but really, how do I say this? Start really regarding each other in love. I mean, real love. You know, um, sometimes black women are not particularly supportive of each other. And I'm really calling for an end to that. I don't care what your sexuality is. I don't care who you're sleeping with. I don't care how you worship or if you worship. It's about time for us to see sisterhood as extending to all women. We're in some ways we're all suffering from this very paternalistic society that we're or patriarchy the patriarchy that we all have been raised under. So I think there is a commonality for us, um, and we need to really exercise our rights and really um, massage that and get that to a different level, to a very different level. So I'm talking about making changes on the individual level as well as on a more corporate level. Um, what else do we need to do? We need to shop black. We need to change. I don't know if you realize this, but our buying power, black folks' buying power, is over $1 trillion. Trillion with a T. And if we got together and decided, for example, that we're not going to shop at Walmart, I'm not saying do this. I'm just saying there needs to be a conversation and some decisions about how we're going to spend that $1.1 trillion that are available to us. And we need to be more judicious about how we spend our money. For one thing, we need to start looking at investing. We need to look at supporting black businesses and black banks. There are somewhere between 21 and 26 black banks and credit unions in the United States. So if you go to mainstreet.net, you can find the listing. I intend to start investing in black bank, putting my money in black banks like Monday. And it doesn't matter how much. I mean, just start putting your money, just being supportive of black banks. I remember when I was growing up, my grandmother only put her money in. There were, I think, two black banks in Washington D.C., and I religiously remember her because I would go with her to that bank. She put her money in that black bank, and that was it. That was it. And I never talked to her about why that was important. But now that I'm grown, I do understand what she was about, what she was doing. Now I want to talk to women in particular and some suggestions for that I have for black women. Number one, I'd like to see us really start embracing our beauty and our blackness and stop trying to turn ourselves into a white version or a Kardashian version of ourselves. Um, we there's some self hatred that I mean, we're bombarded with images in the media, and the vast majority of them do not include us. So I'm asking that you develop a real true love for your black skin, for your big lips, for your big thighs, and your big sassy hips. And really love what God has gifted you with. And stop looking in the mirror and seeing something wrong. You are perfect as you are. You are absolutely gorgeous as you are. And I'm not saying don't wear makeup. I'm not saying, if you want to improve yourself, don't do that. But I'm saying that the self-hatred, you know, when somebody gives you a compliment, you turn it into something negative. If somebody says, "Oh, that's a nice dress." "Oh, this whole thing, I've had it, forever." Start just saying thank you. Start there. Start being accepting of the greatness that you are, because you are magnificent. All right. On a similar kind of, uh, on that same track, I'd like for us to start showing up differently in our relationships. Um, with respect to our children, I'd like for us to go back. And I know, they say you can't go back, you can only go forward. But God knows there's some things that we really need to go backwards on. Um, One is, I think we need to make it not okay for our sons to bring drugs and drug money in our houses. There's some folks who know what your sons are doing, and as long as they're breaking off a piece for you, it's kind of okay. That's not okay. That is not okay. You know, and I don't want to hear about the man keeping you down and you don't have opportunities and this is the only way out and blah 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 blah. That's a lie from the pit of hell. You know, I think the media has done a really good job of painting a picture that's all that's available, and you know, young men see time after time after time these images of young rappers, who've got um, money, a recording contract, and drugs and hoes, and they think, oh, that's the way to go. That's how it should be. That's the way out for black men, and it's not. It's really not. So we really need to decide that that's not appropriate. That is not the way we want our young men. These are doctors and lawyers and engineers and scientists. They have no business, rapping about the thug life. And women, we need to get our daughters so that they're not looking at wanting a thug that's a desirable partner, because it's not. It's not. We need to be much more judicious about our relationships. So in order to teach, if you're going to preach it, you're going to have to live it. So, enough said about that, I think. But but aligned with that, I think we need to change the way that we are in relationships and the way that we show up in our relationships. And I'm talking about our romantic partners. You deserve someone who loves you and honors you and treats you well. Even if you didn't grow up with that model, that's what you deserve. And you should not settle for less than that. Just should not. And so I'm not saying, go after him and criticize and put him down. I'm saying do the work on yourself first so that you can bring the partner that you desire into your life. Nobody ever changed by being fussed at. People changed when they're loved. You can love somebody and make it desirable, make them want to change. I mean, you can't change anybody. It's hard enough to change your own mind about things. So, but if you want what you dream about, then you're going to have to create that in yourself first. And there are ways to do that, and we can talk about that going forward. But right now, I just want to talk about what I see as as a path forward for black folks. Um, Along those lines, for women, I'm asking that you no longer be okay with accepting little crumbs of attention. You get into, it's a hard sell at the beginning. for the kitty cat. And we think that that means forever. We think that means, oh, I want a relationship. But sometimes it just means I want the kitty cat. And so I'm suggesting that we slow things down and let a man prove his worth to you before you do anything. Let him show you his intentions. Let him show you. Words are cheap. And I think sometimes we've been sold on a romantic kind of idea, that he's going to come in and sweep us out and just. And sometimes it works out that way, and sometimes it don't, you know. But give it some time. Get to know him. Get to know if he's a man of his word. See how he treats his mother. Huh. See how he treats, if he takes you out to dinner, see how he treats the wait staff. You know, um, you know, just build your evidence. Give it time. He may be cute, but is he worthy of you? Because you're the pearl of great price. You are the diamond. You're the worthy one, and so you've got to act it and wear it and live it. Because if you don't value you, nobody else will either. What else do we need to do? I think in short, we have to undo the legacy. There's a legacy of slavery in all of us. And come on, let's be real. We still talk about good hair. I know that there are certain segments, if you light, you right. If you're brown, stick around. You know, if you're black, get back. We grew up hearing those things. But it's time to pull the cover off of the the indignities, and we don't have to keep swallowing them and be okay with them. There's a way for us, if we pull together, individually, economically, corporately, we can make real change, and we can stop asking for people to change. We can bring about change ourselves. We don't have to, beg anybody for anything. We can do it. We can absolutely do it. So this is my beginning thoughts. I'll be working on more thoughts on about this going forward. But I do want you to know how very much I love you, how very, very much I believe in you, how very much I think that we can rise above all of this and not just survive, but thrive. And that's what I want for you. I want it for your children. I want it for my children, my grandchildren. It's time for us to build legacies. The Bible says that a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And that's what we need to be about. But in order to do that, we've got to pull together. We've got to live in integrity, all of us. And the shortcuts are just not going to cut it anymore. We've got to get educated. We've got to insist that our kids, and it doesn't have to be college. I mean, trade schools are, I don't know any broke plumbers or broke electricians, so we need to encourage our children, you know, edify them, build them up, make them proud of who they are. Because it's difficult when you go outside your door. It's dangerous, and we need to work to change all of those things. So I'm going to end the way I started. We hold these truths to be self-evident: that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So until next time, just know that I love you. I'm praying for you. And everything you want is on the other side of fear. So signing off until next time, this is Carol Moulton with Tea Time for Carol. Love you. Take care. Be well. Be safe.